Many medical professionals reach out to assist in parts of the world where access to medical care may be limited. But upon returning home, they realize that they were the ones who benefited from their efforts to help others. We visit Avera mission activities. The doctors are on call tonight. Funding for On Call is provided in part by
Avera is a proud sponsor of On Call on South Dakota Public Broadcasting.
And by the South Dakota Foundation for Medical Care, the Medicare Quality Improvement Organization for South Dakota. Additional funding provided by Dakota Care, Regional Health, the Brookings Health System, Dr. Mark Bubach with Dakota Allergy and Asthma, the South Dakota American College of Physicians, and Swiftel Communications. Closed captioning for On Call is provided by the generous support of Avera, the Brookings Health System, and Fishback Financial Corporation.
The verb volunteer was first recorded in 1755 from an earlier French word describing one who offers himself for military service. Of course, we're not talking military service here, we're talking medical service as a gift, and in particular giving freely of one's medical talent as an Avera mission of service to Haiti. There are many studies that indicate a very positive health benefit for the act of volunteerism. These studies have indicated that those who volunteer have significantly higher levels of life satisfaction and will to live, with appreciably lower levels of depression and chronic pain. As you listen to the experiences provided here today, think about the opportunities of giving that you can provide for others. If you are constrained by time or physical limitation, then perhaps your dollars can help. The Avera organization has a long, unique, and valued mission of providing care to those in need. This tradition dates all the way back to the latter parts of the 19th century in South Dakota.
It's a story that goes back over a century to the arrival in the United States and their eventual arrival in the Dakotas of the Benedictine Sisters of Yankton, South Dakota, and the Presentation Sisters of Aberdeen, South Dakota. They came here in the late 19th century, the 1880s, mostly to teach, because the immigrants and farmers and Native Americans who lived in this part of the country needed education. What they discovered in short order and what the local bishops asked them to do was to get involved in another local need, which was health care. They weren't trained initially as nurses or physicians or hospital administrators, but they were smart. They were dedicated, and they wanted to serve God by serving the people whose care had been entrusted to them. So they ended up building each of those two orders of religious women, each ended up building their own healthcare systems, which eventually merged about 12 years ago to form what we now call Avera. So our history is we are a ministry of the Catholic Church, and we say we're sponsored by the Benedictine and Presentation Sisters, which means that we're essentially their ministry. And what that means is whenever we do health care, and the reason why we do health care is because we're trying to carry on the mission of Jesus in the world, to care for anyone who's in need, and especially the poor. And the poorest of the poor, those who are most vulnerable, those who are most in need. So about the time that the system, the Avera system, came into being, a dozen years ago, there was kind of a move afoot among the sisters to find an opportunity for people who worked for Avera to do work in an underdeveloped country, to provide a mission experience of doing health care or health care related work for people not who are part of our regional footprint, but who are living in a very poor country somewhere abroad. Well, they identified Haiti as the place where they wanted to do that. It's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. A lot of people know about Haiti because of the earthquake and so on. And we chose it not because we get any money from it. We don't. Avera supports the volunteers who go down there. And we work with the Haitian Health Foundation out of Norwich, Connecticut. We partner with them. And we try to provide ongoing support in the form of volunteers who do work that's needed at the clinic there, who go to the villages up in the mountains. We send down dentists and nurses and physicians. And we train people down there in various ways so that their capacity to provide health care for themselves continues to grow. But our real motivation for it isn't really, it's not publicity, it's not obviously to add to our bottom line in any way, but it's because there are people in need, and we want our employees to at least have an awareness of these greater needs than even the ones we see here locally that people face around the world, and to make our own small contribution to that. And of course, the people who go down there and have the experience of being in Haiti and working with those people tend to come back saying, wow, that transformed me. I didn't really understand until I saw it myself. And they develop kind of a heart for the people down there. Many of our volunteers return. They go on more than one trip.
Joining today to discuss the Avera mission experience in Haiti is Kathy English, RN, a lactation consultant at Avera and a long-term volunteer for the Avera Haitian Mission and the Haitian Health Foundation. And Dr. Fred Thanel, who trained at Creighton, practiced in rural Wyoming, obtained an MPH or Master's in Public Health for Epidemiology in Alabama, and then joined the family practice faculty at USD in 1993. He is also on the faculty for the new South Dakota Sanford School of Medicine Geriatrics residency. He's here today because he too has been on an Avera mission trip to Haiti. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Kathy, so you've been a kind of a ringleader in some of this Haitian mission. How did that happen?
I've had the marvelous opportunity to be the volunteer coordinator. So I've been coordinating these trips for several years, and it's just awesome. I'm so thrilled to be part of the group.
It's a great thing. You've been to Haiti then how many times?
10 times.
10 trips every 10 years?
We go twice a year.
So you go twice a year. Mm-hmm. But originally you're a nurse. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Omaha, graduated from Creighton University, Department of Nursing. My husband and I lived all over the country. I actually had a mission experience ourselves when he was in training. And I've been at Avera for a very long time, and I'm passionate about what I do.
So, and you're involved with lactation issues?
That's actually how I got asked to be a part of the Avera Haiti mission. If you don't breastfeed in Haiti, you're dead. Your baby dies. And so I went down there initially just to work with the Haitian healthcare workers. Not that breastfeeding isn't normal, but there was a lot of pressure on moms from these multinational companies. So I went down there to work with them. I brought everything that we use at Avera when we teach moms, and the program just was wonderful, and I just got hooked. And I think other volunteers would tell you the same. You get there and you're hooked. You make plans to go back.
So, and that's interesting about the lactation. We'll get back to that.
Uh-huh.
But Fred, now that's interesting. I was exploring your past. You've got a master's in public health. Tell us about that.
Well, when I got interested in academic medicine, I thought, well, this might be good ammunition to help me. And I helped teach the epidemiology class a little bit at the med school, but mostly it's helped me read the literature a little better. But it probably had very little to do with the Haiti trip. I'm interested in overall health and public health, and had an interest in international health, but had never done any mission work at all. Threatened to a couple times, I guess. Almost went to Zambia once, except there was a coup that got in the way, and my wife and I couldn't go. And so this was a great opportunity. But I'm sure if Kathy hadn't been with me, I never would have found my way back. I mean, she has this thing organized very well.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
So, but you're really primarily a teacher. I mean, you've been involved with the residency and family practice for many years.
Yes. My primary practice is geriatrics, although in the family medicine residency, obviously we do everything from delivering babies to, you know, supervising the residents at all levels. But I was kind of concerned when I went on the trip that what can I, as an academic, geriatric-focused person, I would be more in the way than helpful.
Was that the case?
You know, and they found a niche for me. They found a niche.
And that's what you call it, a niche.
They actually found something for me to do. I happened to do a lot of ultrasound, a lot of teaching ultrasound, and the Cuban physician who had been there doing all their ultrasound all of a sudden was gone, left the country. There was no one in the region that did ultrasounds, and I said, well, gee, I can help you with that. That's something I can. And in the education piece came in, they had 2 nurses there that I was able to try to teach how to do basic obstetric, particularly obstetric ultrasound. And one of them had worked with this Cuban doctor who had, so she had some experience. And you know, 8 days is not long enough to teach very much, but I did a lot of line drawings, and there's a spiral notebook somewhere in Jeremy, the Thanel textbook of ultrasound, and it's not quite ready for publication yet, but it's got a lot of line drawings in it in words that are both in English and sort of fractured Creole, because the translator helped.
Well, let's talk about this story of Jeremy, because it was I was unaware really of the whole Haitian mission from Avera, and tell us about Jeremy. Where is Jeremy?
Okay, Jeremy is about 140 miles from Port-au-Prince.
I'm gonna put a map up and see if they can do it.
It's on the southwestern edge of Haiti. But it's 10 hours if you were to take a truck or car, which obviously we don't, we fly.
So you go from Port-au-Prince all the way out to Jeremy, and it's a 10-hour
car or truck ride.
Truck ride.
There's a ferry that goes, that's also about 10 hours. And but I wouldn't put anybody on there, even my puppy dog.
The ferry is
it's for about 500 people, usually about 2,000. You could drop dead on the ferry and not fall over. So we certainly would never, ever go on there or take volunteers.
500 people on the ferry. That's risky.
And it's usually about 2,000 people. They have gone down before. It's 500, built for 500, usually about 2,000, just packed in there with all kinds of stuff. So we fly, and it's... the mission was started, actually, the actual Haitian Health Foundation started in about 1982. There was a dentist from Connecticut who went there to Port-au-Prince and worked for about 3 years. He'd come and go with groups of friends providing dental care, because was no dental care, very little now. And he worked with the Sisters of Charity down there, and at one point, their Mother Superior was in town, and her name was Mother Teresa. And Teresa...
That's the real Mother Teresa?
That is Mother Teresa. And she said, Jerry, his name is Jerry Lowney, would you please do something? See what you can do for the poor people of Jeremy. And he took his little group of volunteers, they went out and looked, and from that very humble beginning, developed what is now the Haitian Health Foundation in Jeremy. It's been there about 30 years. So there's a facility, a clinic facility, a maternal waiting home, a place for kwashiorkor children, and
kwashiorkor children meaning malnourished.
Yes, I'd never seen anything like that in my life until I got there.
Protein depleted, malnourished.
The huge bellies. The children are roly-poly, healthy as infants, as toddlers, as long as they're breastfed. And as soon as they're weaned, they're at risk for this, and it's a horrible, horrible thing. It's about 50% mortality rate off the top for that.
Well, so here's this 30-year mission that's been going from New York, is that where you said?
Connecticut, Norwich, Connecticut. And so Avera is partnered with the Haitian Health Foundation.
How did that partnership occur?
About 12 years ago, leadership within the Avera Foundation, the Benedictine sisters, some presentation sisters, looked at providing a mission experience for employees, for all Avera employees, partly because of their mission background, but also to expose employees, give them the opportunity to see life in the other parts of the world. And they looked around, they looked very carefully at various programs. The Haitian Health Foundation, it was solid, and their work goes on whether we're there or not. In other words, it's not you come in with some vitamins and leave next week.
Right.
And it is a bottom-up organization. In other words, we respond, or they respond to the requests of the Haitians and provide what the Haitians see as their needs, and it's all about training the Haitians to do for themselves.
Wow.
An example, they have 180 employees in Jeremy. 3 of them are Americans. The 177 are Haitian doctors, nurses, drivers. They're all Haitians. The healthcare workers are Haitians. So there's the town of Jeremy and 100 mountain villages behind that all fall under their umbrella of care.
Wow.
It's inspiring to see the work.
Well, you know, and I know how bad it is in other places where it's still bring some vitamins and then leave, and then there they are. And it would be, you know, the hope that this could spread. You know,
that's true. There's I read recently there are 5,800 NGOs and faith-based organizations in Haiti, but nobody's communicating.
NGOs meaning?
Non-government organizations and faith-based groups, and they go in for a day, a week, a month, or maybe 6 months and leave, and that is not how you help a people. Yeah. So we're very proud of this association, and some very smart people did their homework. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if they're the oldest NGO in Haiti, but they're darn near. They've got to be right up there in the
with
top.
Paul Farmer and all the rest.
I know Farmer's Group didn't start till '87, so they're 5 years older than Paul Farmer's Group, which is Partners in Health, the very famous group that focus on AIDS and HIV in Haiti. But
so this is what was your experience as far as this was a year and a half ago or so? Yeah. You went as a person who could teach and do ultrasound, and
that's about it. Yeah.
Well, what was your vision of this, your expectation, and then the reality of what's happening?
I was really surprised. I was the organization, as Kathy points out, is wonderful. Sister Marianne, who's kind of the director, I don't know what her title is, but the boss, I think, has things very well organized. You're well taken care of. You have sort of a barracks to live in above the clinic, a residential area. And it's a secure place. The clinic is right there. Dr. Bordeaux, who is the medical director, is a Haitian physician, delightful guy. I wish I could have spent more time with him, but again, he found my niche and put me in my niche, and I think it worked out. But I would have liked to spend more time with Dr. Bordeaux. I'm sure it would have been a great learning experience working with him in the clinic, and other physicians have done that. But I did not spend as much time with him working at all, and so I felt that I missed out on a little bit there. I did get to go to the village one day with Dick and the dentist, and I did some prenatal visits there while they extracted teeth. I think they had 45 people that had dental extractions that day.
If you were to see Dr. Ellenbecker's office here with the ergonomic equipment and everything, and then you see these people lined up on a log waiting, and it's quite a leap.
Dr. Romling, the local Haitian dentist there, a young lady, a very nice gal, she doesn't get out very often in the village just because she's there in the center and is quite busy. But she came out, Dick came out, and Kevin, a dentist from New Hampshire, came out. And so they had 3 chairs going. And once we were done with the prenatal visits, I got to come out and help wash instruments and watch, and got to learn a little bit about, submental blocks and the local anesthesia, and watch them work. And I was impressed with their work, how physical the work is. My gracious.
Well, have you ever had a
dental extractions
tooth pulled?
No.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't want one now. I don't want it done.
I had a young guy take a tooth, and I had a tooth removed from them. They were all packed in, so they took a tooth and then they lined them up, right? So pulling the tiniest little front bottom tooth, that's our tiniest little tooth, right? So this isn't too long ago, that's 3 years ago or so. This young guy comes in, and I mean, it was you could see the muscles going. I mean, he was just the picture,
Oh,
the
yeah,
cartoon
that's
picture of 2 feet on the arms of the chair. I mean, that was the picture that I could see.
We bring extra scrubs for Dick or the dentist because it's so grueling.
And they say
and it's hot.
that black people have stronger, tougher roots.
That's what he said, yeah. He told us, and he'd pull them out. Of course, you don't have x-ray or anything. But I want to make a point that this is more than a medical mission there. You know, we keep thinking of Avera, and of course, most of the volunteers are medical people because Avera is a medical facility.
Right.
But the volunteers that go down have all sorts of talents to share and skills, and we respond to the needs down there too. They will tell us what they need. Just a really neat example to talk about is next week, 8 electricians are going down from Mitchell.
Oh.
And they're going to rewire the clinic. They're going to start with the clinic floor where the x-ray equipment is and everything. Now, we had a volunteer go 2 years ago, and then he came back again, and he's an electrician with Queen of Peace. And his wheels started turning. It's about building an infrastructure so the Haitians can help themselves. So we have this clinic building, and everything is terribly outdated. Solar panels on the road. But anyhow, this gentleman, Pat from Mitchell, went back. He has access to electricians. He knows how it works. And he goes to Muth Electric, and they came up with the blueprints to rewire the entire building. And then,
and how much wire they need, and so on and so forth.
Well, and of course that all had to be ordered. So the Avera Foundation came up with the funds for that, and then a local Sioux Falls businesswoman gave us all the tools, the saws, everything, because there's no Home Depot in Haiti.
Yeah.
You know, it has to go down on a container. But this is what makes a difference. That place now will have wiring, so better updated X-ray equipment can
And there
come
were
in.
donated solar panels, right?
Donated solar panels, $1 million worth of solar panels.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
$1 million worth of solar
They're
panels.
expensive. I had no idea that.
I suppose that, and of course they don't have X-ray, or they do have one X-ray.
We do have X-ray.
But solar panels wouldn't have enough oomph.
No,
do they have other electricity that?
No, it's pretty well solar, but that's what they're working on. First of all, we're getting the right wiring to handle all this X-ray equipment. The things that Avera has been able to do to support their mission, the Haitian Health Foundation, is so varied. I mean, I could go on and on and on about it. Probably the only routine pap smear program in all of Haiti is through the Haitian Health Foundation. And all of those x-rays all of those pap smears are read at Avera St. Luke's.
Oh, so they bring back the pap smears? And
See, we're not the only volunteers that go down to support. Like Tufts Dental School sends a group down. There's a group from the University of North Dakota. And we go to respond to whatever they want, their needs. And so when a group goes down, then they come back and mail the pap smears to Avera St. Luke's.
And so all the pap smears come to Avera.
And then you get the list for the next group. Well, okay, what do they need? What you know?
See, these people, the Haitian people, the thrust is to make them so they can do what they need to do. But unfortunate circumstances are they don't have the resources for this. I mean, their government, for example, metformin's not available. Diabetes is a horrible problem.
And they don't even have metformin.
No, or all of a sudden it's not available. The Haitian Health Foundation would buy it through Haiti. I mean, the idea is to buy everything there.
Yeah.
But if it's not available, what are you going to do? Or Bactrim. I mean, kids to have pneumonia, where are we going to get this? So volunteers, Avera and other groups will bring in these medications, and then they're able to do the work that they do.
Yeah, how many people from Avera, South Dakota, or Avera right here, Avera, which extends into Minnesota and Iowa and Nebraska and so on, South Dakota, how many of those go?
14 a trip.
So 14 a trip, and there's 2 trips a year. And you're the coordinator.
I've been coordinating it. I'm a volunteer.
Yeah, you're getting big dollars for all of this.
I am in my heart.
Believe me, you wouldn't get through the airport if Kathy wasn't with you.
No, I sell everything I had for the experience. I feel very fortunate. But everybody at Avera that's gone on this trip said they're so proud to work for an organization like Avera that supports this kind of a mission. And Fred can echo his sentiments there, too.
I'm not an Avera employee. I'm on the medical staff there. But, yeah, it was an eye-opener for me.
Because it's done right. And these 100 villages behind Jeremy, and some of them are like a 14-hour walk. Every village they have identified a leader in their village, And that leader is trained as the health worker, the health
coordinator.
Person. But he's got the respect of his people in the village. And he also has a vested interest because they're interrelated and everything.
Right.
So then the Haitian Health Foundation makes sure that they receive the training, the midwives receive the training. Simple things like making little bags available to every midwife with a straight-edged razor and cord tie and some 2x2s. You're not hacking at the cord with a dirty machete and you have neonatal tetanus. I mean, simple things like that that are an education piece. So a school of midwifery goes down there once or twice a year to in-service the Haitians, not to do, but to in-service.
Yep, to teach.
To teach, yeah.
So it's just sounds the most organized of any of these mission things that I've heard.
They did their homework well. It wasn't me, but...
very quickly, because we need to move shortly. But what about the earthquake? How much did that affect Jeremy and the people around there? Were you there? Were you there before or after the earthquake?
No, after. We
went 3 months after the earthquake.
We saw a lot of damage in Port-au-Prince. We sort of took a quick tour of Port-au-Prince before we flew home, and it was unbelievable. Jeremy didn't suffer a lot of direct damage, but they got, as Dick points out, they had 120,000 refugees from Port-au-Prince that came back to
wheelbarrows and with a lot of damage.
So they had an impact in that sense.
But the director down there said, we will not have tents. She's a very smart woman, because tents become permanent. We will support families that take in displaced family members, and it worked so smooth.
No tents.
No tents, no temporary.
That's interesting.
Yes,
no temporary housing.
Because Port-au-Prince, they're still living in them, and you know, if they don't blow away, they'll be there 10 years from now. I swear they will. It's tragic.
Ooh.
It's tragic. So that was their response, and it meant a lot of extra rice and beans, and food, which the volunteers and the donors responded, and they weathered that. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Dentistry has given us many options to take care of or enhance our smiles. It's easy to forget the important medical need of basic tooth care.
My own work in dentistry, we go out each day of the week, Monday through Friday, we go out to a different village out from the town, and we ride on these Land Rover type Toyotas that are very durable on the very rough roads. And an hour to 2 hours out from the town each day in a different direction to a different village, and they've prearranged that the dentist is going to be coming, and people walk from other villages to those centers then, and we set up. Sometimes we set up in a yard under some trees. Sometimes there's a village center, kind of what we'd call a picnic shelter, a roof and a cement floor, and that's a pretty nice office space for us there when we get that arrangement. But we set up with folding dental chairs, and we pretty much all we have available to us is local anesthetic. In all my time there, in 3 years, I've only taken care of one person who had one visible restoration. Otherwise, there's basically no general restorative dentistry available, and what we're taking basically is extracting untreated dental caries. Take care of extraction dentistry. People come, some are swollen and have very obvious infections. Others are pointing to teeth that they've had problems with, and it's typically pretty visible what their problem is. We have no x-ray. It's a step 100 years back in my profession. It shows an unfilled need, and it really is an opportunity to serve people. You know, it'd be wonderful to serve them with more modern means. 3 months after we were there, the earthquake occurred, and that was a real setback. Jeremy didn't actually have the earthquake. They had some minor damage to some unsupported walls crumbled in even 100 miles out. But they had a secondary disaster in that a couple 100,000 people came out to Jeremy because things were so bad in Port-au-Prince. And so they had a great deal of difficulty managing that and challenges, and did a good job of it. And then And then the following year, they had the cholera epidemic, and that worked its way. Actually, it started while we were there on our second trip. The news of it was reported from another part of the country while we were there, and within a couple of months, the cholera epidemic reached Jeremy, and they had quite an outbreak there in that whole county and area, and we're involved with that with the Haitian Health Foundation and worked a lot managing that, and we're quite successful in limiting how devastating it would be. Their needs are so great, their infrastructure is so limited, it's a real opportunity to serve and in a very small way, but I think a meaningful way, and to help some people very much in need in this world, and it does affect you and your life too, because we're all part of humanity.
Great stories about dental stories. What about other specialties, surgical specialties or orthopedics or other things that would come in? You did OB/GYN work then when you were there?
Primarily when I was there, but there's opportunity. We had a family practitioner from O'Neill, Nebraska with us who spent most of his time out in the villages. So at the end of the day, I would debrief him and find out what he saw.
Yeah.
Because it was fascinating to me, and he saw a wide variety of things. But I think Sister could find a job for about anybody.
Oh,
there.
there's job security there for sure. It's third world medicine. I mean, a heart surgeon couldn't go down there. We have a neonatologist going this time, but he knows it's going to be mountain medicine. He's going to be scabies and.
There's not a lot of prenatal.
Prenatal care is there, absolutely. But it's done by midwives and the Haitian healthcare workers. Yes, and that's another reason why they decrease the infant mortality where we are, is they've got the immunization programs, the prenatal care programs, the home for high-risk mothers.
The Center of Hope.
Yeah, so if a mom's identified a grand mal type, you're worried that she might bleed.
Grand mal type is what?
Someone who's had many children, you're worried about bleeding, or maybe they've identified that the placenta is low and they want her in an area where it's safe. So they've dramatically decreased what is very hard in Haiti. These babies die for reasons that they shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
Yeah.
They shouldn't die.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've heard, particularly in other parts of Haiti, is the water is dirty and contaminated. And there was even a cholera epidemic. Did the cholera epidemic reach Jeremy? Did they still have epidemics of gastrointestinal problems there?
There's been a program for many years down there in terms of hygiene, boiling water, cleaning water, etc. And we were there actually the day the outbreak was announced. Within hours, the network was out there, and doxycycline was distributed, and Clorox and the healthcare workers. But the reason it worked and the reason they contained the epidemic in that area was the relationship of the healthcare worker to the voodoo priests. Now, Haiti is probably 90% Catholic, 10% other Christian, but 100% voodoo. I mean,
there's an all overlap. 100% voodoo.
100% voodoo. So when the cholera epidemic came, it was a lot of mysticism with it, and powders had been, powders were sprinkled, voodoo powders and everything, and people were going to their voodoo practitioner to be healed with prayers, etc. I'm thinking of particularly one village about a 14-hour walk from Jeremy, and there were only 1,500 people. Well, right off the bat, 10 people died. That's terrible, devastating to a village. The healthcare worker was able to go to the voodoo doctor and explain what is cholera, how it's spread, what you can do to contain it. He had the respect of the voodoo doctor. The voodoo doctor the voodoo priest, voodoo priest gathered in other voodoo priests. Within 24 hours, they were all sitting around making these rehydration packets, which are salt and sugar, so that if you get that packet to the individual, the child, the elderly, whatever, then they don't die of this massive dehydration. And so it was contained in Jeremy, but because of the system and the fact that the healthcare workers have the respect of the other people in the village.
Made a lot of difference.
It made a huge difference.
Fred, tell us about rehydration, and first of all, cholera. What is it, and what's it like? And
it's a bacterial disease, but it's the toxin that causes just massive, usually diarrhea, but also vomiting, and you just lose your blood volume essentially.
I mean, it's just volume loss,
right?
Dehydration, and so replenishing fluids is the cure. That the bacteria will go away, although the antibiotics do shorten the course, but the fluids are the real saviors.
And can you save them by oral hydration?
Yes,
and that's the key, isn't it?
Except in really extreme cases, oral rehydration does the trick. So.
If you do it right away, and then everybody was carrying these little baggies, 3 doxycycline tablets.
Right.
And any thought you might have a problem, you would
just
take
the
it.
doxycycline.
It was amazing, but it's because the network is there. See?
And the voodoo priests swallowed it as well.
But you know what they did? They built, after this all passed, that village now has 10 latrines. I mean, they not only did that, they moved on to improve life in their village. And this is what it's all about.
If you can isolate the infection in this spot instead of spreading it through the village.
Exactly. Some more personal hygiene kinds of things.
Yeah, I love that story about the hydration. So the packet you mix with water. The question is the water that you're mixing with this packet also clear of cholera or other bacteria?
And that was part of an education process as well, because another piece of it was everybody was shown how to take Clorox, how many drops in your bucket of water, and those kits were all distributed, and now people have a really clear understanding. You don't have to give them Clorox. They'll get it in the market. They know how to purify their water.
And that's what gave them the diarrhea illness they didn't know before.
Right, yeah.
I do know that there's another project that I've been involved with, which is a solar oven project. And part of the reason why that whole issue has been pushed by people is that the Haitians commonly will cook by charcoal. The charcoal is made from the trees. The trees are cut down and made into charcoal, and then you have no roots to keep the walls and the sides of the mountains from falling in.
Yeah.
And it gets hotter, and then there's less rain, and then it becomes more arid, and then you get more trouble. So it would be great to see forestation reoccur, and it would be great to see these solar ovens, which sterilize water. They can sterilize water. You can boil water. It takes a while longer than a regular cook stove to cook bread, but you can cook bread, you can cook dishes, and you can sterilize water with just the sun. So that's something that I think should be promoted. Personally, think it's a wonderful answer.
We'd love to look into that, and perhaps now on this next trip, take some down there and introduce them to that part.
I'm going to personally bring you an opportunity
to bring some solar ovens
and realize there's, I mean, maybe it's not the tradition of what people want. They're used to hot immediately. It's a slower cook, no question about it, but it sterilizes water. Yeah. That's a good thing.
Well, we know the power of solar because that's our energy down there, so sure.
That's it.
And then one thing they don't lack is sun. It's a tropical climate.
So of the health challenges that we've discussed, we've talked about the cholera and the infectious illness and the water. We've talked about the dental problems. What other health issues are really Haitian facing?
Malnutrition is endemic in Haiti, and I think it's particularly hard on the women and the children of Haiti.
You're back to the kwashiorkor.
Well, and malnutrition in the women and everything, and the malnutrition is a result of probably back to the fact the land was so eroded and everything. So there are groups getting into Haiti, showing them how to grow whatever they can grow. Groups getting into Jeremy at the request of the Haitian Health Foundation. To raise the level of nutrition. It's all about that, and you'd like it to be Haitian-grown products versus making them dependent on things from other places.
Shipped in.
That's ultimately the goal.
Yep.
And it is jungle soil, of course, real shallow soil that is. We think of jungles as having deep, rich soil, and they don't.
It's not.
And it's not, and so it's very limited what they can grow there. So you need some agricultural expertise to tell them, let them know what can grow, bring in the proper seeds, and
peanuts
bulbs
grow well there.
Yeah.
Really?
Peanuts
And there's
grow.
a nutritional,
And
protein
so, yeah.
rich.
Yeah.
We've been bringing down grinders like your
so-
grandmother's old meat grinders, but they're about like this.
Yes.
And it starts micro businesses for women. They're selling peanut butter. Well, it's a good source of protein. It's a little bit of income for women. We help them with a lot of micro businesses in the area as well, and that's one of them.
So I love the story of the electricians.
Oh, it's just
so
awesome.
what other people besides medical people have been doing?
We've had men go down and help with roofing. Now, mind you, when they're doing this, they're always doing it alongside Haitians. It's always about teaching. But part of the electrician problem is you could be an electrician in Haiti, but there's no conduit and all the rest. I mean, there's just no place to get all of that. We have an exciting program coming. They had asked us to do, or to partner with them in a breast health awareness. You probably know this, but I was told that breast cancers, there's a higher incidence in black women. Now, if a woman dies, a young woman dies and has a family, it's tragic no matter where. But in Haiti, we've got a huge social issue here, because if I die and leave 4 children, my sister's not going to take them in because she can't feed the 4 she has. You know, so these children are then left on the streets, what have you. So they asked us if we would help them. And what they want to do is have us teach the Haitian health workers how to do breast exams and how to teach breast self-exams. So a large group are going to the Avera Cancer Institute. We're being trained by people who are certified as trainers. We bought a lot of teaching aids, you know, these silicone breasts to teach.
Right.
And that's going to be the thrust for the next year.
Is breast cancer prevention in the Haitian
Awareness, so they come if they find something, and you know, we're hoping to have someone who can do these punch biopsies or train someone to do them. I mean, it's going to be an incremental thing, but it begins with just making women aware of it and that it's not a death sentence. And now there's some mammography going to be available in the area. So we're kind of excited about that because these are sustainable programs. They need help with the infrastructure, and then they can go. So.
I'm struck by your comments about the children that are left without parents or a mother that will take care of you, and basically that means parents. What about the orphans from that area?
The Haitian Health Foundation does not have an orphanage, but they've been very generous in helping some orphanages there in the area. The first choice, of course, is to try and support a family member. In other words, I understand you don't have enough to feed your children, but these 2 or 3 nieces, nephews, if you were to take them into your home, how could we help you raise them?
Right.
That type of thing.
If they knew that they would have enough food, then they would do it.
Yes, exactly. The big orphanages, quite honestly, most of them are not orphans in Haiti. They are there because their parents couldn't feed them. It kind of reminds me of the Depression in this country.
Well, because that happened. I mean, that happened with my grandmother.
Right.
She was shipped to an orphanage.
Put them on the train.
That's what happened to her. She ended up in an orphanage for a period of time until her grandmother, her mother, had enough wherewithal to be able to take her back.
And that's what the sisters at the Daughters of Charity Orphanage will tell us, that these children will be claimed at some point, most of them.
And the orphanages there tend to be small, just extended families that take in 1 or 2 children.
You know, this is obviously a wonderful thing that's happened. I mean, this is an opportunity, and my wife, Joni, has been involved with going to Haiti and many several other projects, and even recently Dominican Republic. So there are a lot of people who are trying to do something to help people over there. But there is criticism. There's people who say, oh, well, you're going over there, you're making them dependent. Now, we've addressed that part. You've made them dependent on your going over there, and you're only there a week, and then you come home, and the only reason you did it really was so you'd feel good that you did something somewhere. Now, how would you counter, Fred, how would you counter that comment? I mean, you did feel good coming home.
I would agree that, you know, you probably gain more yourself than you gave. But at the same time, if there's education involved and you have helped something that will go on after you leave, then you've probably accomplished something to help. If you teach someone there to, an example is Sisters Fishing Program, and you were explaining that earlier. I'd heard about it, but I didn't know the details. But the old story of, you know, teach a person to fish versus give them a fish. You know, and Well, sister has obtained some boats and motors.
Well,
an issue with fishing was they couldn't get far enough offshore, and the fishing close to shore was drying up, and so now they've got better boats. They've got a little village that's been created.
Well, someone offered her some money if she could find matching funds, and she knew an area down along the water quite a ways from Jeremy where they were extremely poor, and her wheels started turning. And what she did was she did find the matching funds. You don't challenge her. And out of that...
So this is quite a lady.
Oh, if she was running General Motors, it wouldn't have gone under. Sister Mary Bernard. And she's been there for 25 years. She's from St. Louis. Her father was a dentist. She grew up in St. Louis and has been a religious sister, and she's just awesome. It's very inspiring to see. It's inspiring to see the work that's done there, because not only do we have these 3 Americans, we have Americans who decide, I've retired, I'm going to go, and for 2, 3, 5, whatever years they go down and say, tell me what to do. But anyhow, she was offered some funds, and she knew of this very poor area, and she thought, let's start a fishing village. So with these funds, this community of homes were built. They were called happy homes, an ice house, several boats with motors, and a community area which is used for a school as well. And now this community has built up, and they not only fish for themselves, but then they sell fish, which is a source of protein to the people. So she essentially built a self-sustaining village.
With an industry.
With an industry, and that's the key. There's no jobs in Haiti. So you can educate these people, because you can't go to Hy-Vee and get a job, or you can't go to the bank and get a job.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a college education. What's that worth?
There's no place to go. Yeah.
So I often think about the major thing that we could do. I mean, I think about the educational part of it.
Right.
I mean, just exactly that, to teach them how to do the things it needs to give them the infrastructure to move forward.
Help break those bonds of poverty that they're so, yeah.
I am struck, though, that the disparity of, I mean, the lack of communication between all these groups that are trying to do good. And I wonder what could be done to improve that.
They say, this is what I heard anyway recently, there's 5,800 faith-based and NGOs there in Haiti.
5,800.
There are 480 that have made their presence known to the government. In other words, we're here and this is what we'd like to do. There's 18 that are registered with the Ministry of Health. We are. I mean, every time I go, my license goes in, or your license goes in. So there's no way of controlling all this overlapping of services, and somewhere, somehow, the Haitian government has to make people check in and accountable and give us a business plan, so to speak. What are you planning to do here? Because a lot of dollars and time and energy is wasted, I think.
If their government was stronger, perhaps they could be more coordinated, or if our government could influence their government to do that, if we could have an organizational...
Help them with the organizational skills.
Help them with the organizational part of it. Any comment about that?
It's so difficult for them to establish much stability. When we were there, it was election time. There were 19 people running for president with no plans for a runoff election, which means you could win the election with 6 or 7% of the vote. That's hardly a mandate.
No.
I mean, and how could you govern a country with 6% of the vote? It just flabbergasted me. Well, now there apparently was an election. It was relatively peaceful, and there was a runoff and a successful candidate. And
but he couldn't build he couldn't build a cabinet because no matter who he suggested was voted on. And these are these are problems that we can't even get our head around. So we work with the Haitian Health Foundation to make a difference in that part of Haiti.
And I think the bigger NGOs have sort of sorted out their turf in a sense. The Haitian Health Foundation has the Grand Aunts. They have the neck there of Haiti. The Paul Farmer's group,
Paul Farmer's
Partners in Health, they have the Central Highlands of Haiti. That's their turf, and their focus is HIV disease. And so some of the bigger players, the organized ones like Haitian Health Foundation and Partners in Health, have said, okay, what do you want us to do, and where do you want us to go, and where's the area of the biggest need? But it's all the littler ones that are really making it confusing. And then the orphan issue, a lot of these smaller NGOs got in real trouble, in the orphanage, trying to adopt children out from Haiti, out of the country, and they got in trouble with the government. Oh boy.
We don't even
we don't want to
start there. I do want to say that there is a number you can call if this strikes your fancy about an opportunity to give. And that number is 322-4750 in South Dakota. 605-322-4750 is the Avera Foundation. And they'll get you where you need to go if you're thinking that you want to donate one group or another. So that's it, 322-4750. Why do people give or volunteer? Philosophers have argued for years if humans are capable of giving without the benefits outweighing the costs. That question turns around the value of feeling good about doing good. Other experts define altruism as giving only for selfish gain, which is different from giving as a selfless act, which is different from giving as a duty. Another researcher said that selfless acts seem to come more often as the other guy's needs become more desperate. Well, I'm convinced whatever the motive, when the result is helpful, then the act is still good. There are many examples in my life of people who have helped me without a lot of expectation of reward, starting with my parents. I remember at least 2 piano accompanimists who selflessly had to listen for hours at my various attempts at trumpet and singing solos. And then there was Bob Lee, who gave up his limited time off to be the chaperone on a very rigorous Boy Scout canoe trip to the Boundary Waters. Lots of giving for little return. I think the shining example of altruism in our society is in the field of education. When I think back on all the DSMED teachers and coaches who mentored me and my classmates from grade school on up, I'm filled with warm gratitude for the examples of compassion and fairness and worlds of knowledge that poured forth from those poorly paid prairie tutors. There are many studies that prove a strong connection between volunteerism and giving with health and well-being. One 4-year study in a group of 55 and older volunteers indicated that their generosity resulted in a 44% reduction in death rate. Another indicated that not only are kinder people happier, but that happier people are kinder. Apparently, generosity increases right along with measurements of sad to happy. What's more, gratitude goes hand in hand with kindness, helping both the giver and the receiver. So, why do people volunteer? There are many reasons, but I think a sense of gratitude and wishing to give back leads the way for most. But whatever the motive, when the result is beneficial, then the act is still good. And the best part is that volunteering rewards the giver with better health. So my question is first to you, and then we'll wrap up. Any response to that comment about the value of giving?
Well, I completely agree with it. I think it was well said. It certainly does reward the giver.
You give your rewards have been many then.
Oh, many, and it's just wonderful to go back and see. People will say, "What's the impact?" And I've got the advantage of having been many return trips, and to see the changes as a result of all the giving, whether it's the volunteer that makes the labels for the medication or the women in Pipestone that make the dresses for the little girls. I mean, and then to see the fat roly-poly babies in the villages. It's just, yeah.
Well, and you think of all of the good that it does for those of us who've been able to give.
Yeah.
Any comments, Fred?
I had a professor in public health school who spent 8 years in Zaire until it was no longer Zaire and he got thrown out of the country. But he said if all the retired people who had a skill and had experience would volunteer, that the world would be a much better place.
And they'd be healthier.
And they would be healthier. People with experience are often, and older people are often revered in many of these countries, and actually would have more impact than the younger people who tend to be the volunteers. So
you just
I hope to stay healthy enough to do that.
Yeah, me too. You just tossed it out to the retired folks who might be watching.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, that closes our show on Avera mission activities. I sincerely thank our studio guests for visiting with us about this very important topic. Kathy English, RN, a lactation consultant at Avera, and a long-term volunteer for the Avera Haitian Mission and the Haitian Health Foundation. And Dr. Fred Thanel, a faculty member at the new South Dakota Sanford School of Medicine Geriatrics residency. Last year, Avera committed over $70 million in charity care, government-assisted health care, and community benefits. They truly live, as their mission statement says, to make a positive impact in the lives and health of persons and communities. Until next time, stay healthy out there, people, and thank you both so much
Thank you for
joining us.
Funding for On Call is provided in part by
Avera is a proud sponsor of On Call on South Dakota Public Broadcasting.
and by the South Dakota Foundation for Medical Care, the Medicare Quality Improvement Organization for South Dakota. Additional funding provided by Dakota Care, Regional Health, the Brookings Health System, Dr. Mark Bubak with Dakota Allergy and Asthma, the South Dakota American College of Physicians, and Swiftel Communications. Closed captioning for On Call is provided by the generous support of Avera, the Brookings Health System, and Fishback Financial Corporation.